That's some sweet vodka.
Georgie's drinking vodka. I'm not really sure why.
Pound it.
Are you?
Pound
Is there
it.
something you want to tell us, brother? You got
Chug it.
you depressed?
It's just been a long year.
Chug it. You won't.
A long year. We just started, bro.
It's been a long week. It's like,
Vodka for all.
like go to the brim. It's been a long Sunday, okay?
It's been a long Sunday.
It's been a long 2 hours since I woke up.
It's been a long time since the
Are
three
we
of us
doing
have
it? I
been
got.
in the room
I mean,
together.
I got something for. Is this live or?
Yeah, dude, we're going.
Okay.
We're going. No intro, no nothing. I'll do that by myself nowadays.
Yeah.
That way we have more time to hang out with each other, you know, making it a little bit more daytimey. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Whoa. This is crazy.
Is it gross?
So,
No.
so what was that? The
It's a peanut butter whoopie pie from some brewing company.
Some brewing company. Where
It's
is?
like that's the name.
just some brewing
you
company.
can't see the feed, but that is the name of the brewing company.
Yeah, where are
They like ran out of names, so now it's like, yeah, we're just some brewery.
They're just some brewing company. Yeah.
Honestly, that's brilliant. That is a
It's
brilliant.
eventually just gonna
they're
get
from-
some noises. Like you have to make a noise. We're like brewing company.
Every can has a button on it now.
Yeah, we're the armpit fart sound brewing company. It's like you have to.
Hey, y'all got any?
The Fart Attack Brewing Company.
Oh god. It's actually pretty good.
Where's it from?
It's from York, Maine.
Whoa!
Nice. Oh,
I got some stories about that place, my guy.
You know what?
It's not
I'll be
here.
right back.
York.
What?
I think I'll be right back. Actually.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
He's got to get more vodka.
Well, while George is gone, welcome back to the show, everybody. Of course, I don't need to introduce my guests. You all know them. You love them. They've been on the show. And we're all just coming together on a happy Sunday. Monday by the time you listen. We're all here drinking our stuff. It's IPA Sunday, apparently. I don't know. Is that an IPA, Corey, or that's a stout you got? You got a
It's
stout.
a milk stout.
Okay. What is that you
What's
got?
that?
Talk to me, Georgie. What's that?
This is Portland's own Lone Pine Brewing. It's a collab between Holy Donut, which they make they make their donuts out of Maine potatoes. So it's like a stout.
What?
I didn't want to start with a stout, but Corey's doing it, so I might have to do it.
You don't want to
It's
be like
afternoon
Corey.
on a Sunday, so yeah, it's stout time.
It's stout time. You're fine, bro. I can't even hear that. So
You can't. It's so loud in here.
is it really?
Yeah, you can't hear the TV.
You know what you're gonna have to do is like move all your
Tie them
stuff
up, not me,
upstairs.
what?
Tie them up, yeah, sure.
No, yeah, that's the plan. Once the upstairs is done, there's going to be a family room up there with video games and a TV, and they will get banished too. So
Banished.
Is the quotations like a dungeon?
yes,
Like
it's
the
actually
family room.
downstairs, and
It's
it's going to have
It's like you're gonna get
strapped to the
locked
wall.
So what are you gonna do about their rooms? Are you gonna have like 40 rooms downstairs?
No, it's upstairs. It was a joke.
What? Stop confusing me. It's too early in the day for you to start with me. I don't-
No, we're literally finishing off the upstairs. There's going to be 2 rooms up there, 2 bedrooms, and then like a family room
Nice. So where am I gonna sleep?
in the basement.
Where I belong. I spend
In
too
your
much
car.
time down there.
in your car.
Yeah.
In my car? Yeah, good.
Yep.
No, anyway, with this, there's no topic today, really. We're just kind of here hanging out, chit-chatting, but I guess the one thing that I wanted to bring up is, I was talking to Corey about this the other day, is what attracts you guys to a song? Like, is it the beat, is it the medley, is it what they're talking about? I always wanted to, know, when you guys were younger, what was your go-to? What did you listen to?
Blast beats. If it doesn't have blast beats, I don't want to hear it.
If it wasn't influenced by Enya, I'm not into it.
That's fair.
Enya? When's the last time you ever talked about Enya?
Eva puts that on for the
morning.
kids during nap time.
No way. That's pretty savage. Yeah. All right, cool.
But to actually answer that
Please answer the
question, what attracts me to new stuff or just music in general? Or
In general, yeah, you know, as long as I've known you, you've liked some progressive stuff and
Yeah,
hardcore.
I always look for something that's different, really. Something that nobody else is really doing, and if they are doing it, they're doing it slightly different than other people, I guess.
The whole point.
Yeah, I mean, I love progressive things, especially progressive rock and metal. I mean, it's always that in and of itself, its name means that it just does whatever it wants, and it's different every time.
Right.
So
Right.
they don't follow a formula. They just do whatever they want, and they make music. That's what I like. People that are pushing boundaries.
Because I listened to that Passion of the Heist 2 album that you sent me. That thing was actually very interesting, and
Fantastic album.
what an amazing voice that guy has.
Incredible.
Absolutely out of this world. Have you ever heard them guys, Georgie? Corey was just dropping some knowledge to me about.
Did you say the Heist or something?
Passion
That's
of
the
the
name of
Heist.
the album. That's the name of the album. I Am Abomination.
No.
They're weird. They're progressive. They're
George
like
listens to
post-hardcore.
grasshopper sounds.
That's probably true.
Crickets.
You're out in the grass so
Crickets,
much,
right?
putting your
You
beer
got
on the
crickets
floor.
on that joke as well.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the beer? Are you trying to plant beer trees? Is that why they're on the ground? Dumb joke. I'm sorry.
I gotta find a cricket sound to play on my phone every time Sam tells a joke.
Perfect. On the topic of crickets. Anyway, so what about you, Georgie? What attracted you?
I think for me, it's more. I kind of tend to be more of a singer-songwriter. So for me, it's more lyrically and heavy music, something that like it's emotional or touches you. The other thing I find, I'm not like big on like technical things like soloing. It's more like melody, some things that have like it can be catchy or something like that.
Yeah, like simplicity. You like the simplicity in your music.
Somewhat, yeah. It's more. I feel like for me, it's more of like a emotional connection to it, whether it's something lyrically or the way the music makes you feel.
Mm.
That's what I tend to find myself influenced by, or that I like.
That happens to me where like I'll listen to a record that I grew up with and I'm like, man, this is crazy how far it's actually come. Like to me, I look at it as the arc of that's who I was as a person when I listened to those records. And I think through the years, we've all moved on and stuff like that, and we're all listening to new things. We're all changing as people as well. But I think that the foundation is still there. As far as like, if I had to put something together for who I am now as a person, I'm definitely more in that singer-songwriter category. Like, the song I just dropped a couple weeks ago, 25, on YouTube, that talks about a number of different things. It talks about, like, sobriety and trying to stay young and, all the clips and stuff. If you go on YouTube, everything's kind of mashed together. But there's old clips and then there's new clips of shows, and stuff like that. And I'm more interested now in trying to write more meaningful songs. Like, I want my lyricy, I guess is the word, to keep progressing.
Lyricism?
Is that the right word? I
don't know.
I'm not any Phi Beta Kappa. I have no idea.
Doesn't make any sense either.
What?
You're not a lyricist. You're not a linguist. That's the word.
Oh, really? Thank you, Professor. I don't care about that.
What was your the moment where you had that you found your music, so to say?
I was in the fourth grade. And Corey's gonna hate that I'm saying this. But American Idiot had just came out, and
Yeah. Fourth grade.
I was in the fourth grade.
He's a baby.
Yeah. No, that's
But
I think
even
I was
then,
in ninth grade.
Even then, listening to music like that, and I'd never heard.
Yeah, definitely.
The angst and like rebellion in a song like that before. It wasn't, like Corey and I talked about on Cal's podcast. It depends on when you come into a band.
Yeah, it's
Right. That's your
time and place.
introduction to a band. Like,
exactly, and I had never heard anything like that before, so I was like, this is so not me. But now it became me because that's all I listened to after that. Anything punk, I was into it. It didn't have to be necessarily the same message or the same sound, but I knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. And it just pushed me in that direction. I still
I could see why it's influential at fourth grade. It's probably
Oh, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I bought every CD after that.
Because they were on the radio, they're famous. So it's like you got exposed to it because of that.
Oh yeah, it was the first legitimate CD that I went to the store and bought.
Mine, you know what mine was?
Hand-me-downs. What?
Weird Al Yankovic.
No, you weren't. What?
It was
Are you serious?
The Amish Paradise album.
Oh my word!
It was that
Classic.
and the TV album. Those are my first CDs I bought my own money.
My first CD I bought, I think I was 12 years old. It was Creed, Human Clay.
Yeah.
Which is still a fantastic album. I don't care what anybody says. And I can give Green Day a lot of crap, and I do, but that's because I did listen to them. I did buy their albums, and then I realized I don't like them.
Yeah.
And that's why I give them crap, and I feel justified in giving them crap because
that's good. You should. You're getting older. You probably should start yelling at kids on your lawn. Maybe throwing your cane at them or something. Make yourself feel more at home.
I think they have different stages, so it's like when I growing up, that's what I kind of listened to, like 90s Green Day, which is very different from like 2000s Green Day.
I mean, my first Green Day album was Dookie.
Yeah.
Only.
Dookie was my second album that I went and bought after that, because one thing I like about sort of the arc and history of bands and even in film is going back to the beginning. Like, I'll go and see a sequel before I ever watch the first one. And then I like going back. I don't know why. It's just been my thing. And so once I bought American Idiot, then I went back and heard Dookie for the first time. And like that just completely flipped the script for me. I was all in at that point.
Yeah, I kind of do stuff like that where growing as a teenager, you have their bands you like, but then you kind of listen to their influences and you can see where they came from. So then I myself, I love the stuff I listened to growing up, but some of my favorite stuff is more past that, in the past, with more like their influences.
Right.
Like for me, like a band like The Cure, I didn't grow up listening to The Cure, but I like grew to know them from the bands I liked because that's what they were listening to.
And it just became, I bet it was like an arc for you at that point. You're like, this is where it came from. Like, I always grew up listening to my dad's rock and roll records. We would be in the car because I used to work with him when I was very young, when I was a teenager. I would work with him for like the past 5 summers. I worked with him when I was younger, and we just listened to rock and roll the whole way. Wherever we were going for jobs, it was always rock and roll on the radio. Zeppelin, AC/DC, Halen. It was everything.
Well, that's kind of how we got into music. Me and my younger brother, we played music together in bands and whatever. But like, music was always a huge thing in our house. Like, my mother's favorite band is Queen, and Prince. She loves Queen and Prince. And my dad's favorite is Metallica. And we found all my dad's old tapes that were like Zeppelin and stuff like that. And we stole them all and started listening to them. And that was kind of like, we didn't have like a moment or like, oh, this music is something that's, amazing to us. It was just always there, and we always had pretty decent influences.
I just texted you, Corey.
I got, I kind of like my mom growing up, she was into like today's hits, so to say. So we listened to like a lot of hit radio. So from that, I kind of grew up with like, it's like a very big 90s influence. So stuff like, like U2 was big in the 80s, and then the 90s, like pop radio. But yeah, it's like kind of like when I got my own music, so to say, like it was like, I remember, Green Day was big in the 90s. So that was like kind of like the big one. And then Blink, they blew up in like the late 90s. And that was like when I'm like, oh, I really like this. And that's like, you know, they opened up a whole different world to me as far as that. But like playing guitar, I'd go back. I was self-taught. So I'm like, I was learning from the solo portion of the stuff I do. I had to like painstakingly learn all of Jimmy Page's solos that I couldn't quite do it all, but that's where I picked up some of that solo stuff on my when I play guitar. But yeah, it's like I went through like a classic rock phase growing up.
Which is crazy because like most people don't know, very few people know that you started picking up the guitar when you were like 8, right? I believe is it when you started playing?
I was a teenager.
Oh, you were.
It was like, yeah, I know. This is like in high school.
Oh, okay.
Like 8th grade, 9th grade.
That must be it.
That might be where you get the 8. Yeah.
Crossed over, but yeah, that's so funny. So even at that age, like that was a huge influence for you.
It was more, you know, like Blank, like I got into like skateboarding, so it's a lot of those. It was a lot of like at the time like pop punk bands like Drive Through Records was a big a record that had a lot of those bands like Newfound Glory coming up.
Right.
It was like the early 2000s.
It was a culture. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I got into that, and like Tony Hawk, he was big. So like he had like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. That's where I got a lot of like the music. Those soundtracks are so good.
I was introducing my son to those, like the old Tony Hawk games and all the soundtracks on those. Like I don't know if you played like Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX or Dave Mirra's Pro BMX. Those games, those had the soundtracks on those are actually what started my musical taste as, you know, my own thing, and taking it from, you know, where my parents left off with Queen and Metallica. It's like, no, this is my music. So maybe I can pinpoint it.
Yeah, like I didn't have like a cool older brother or sister that was like listening to stuff like that. So for me, those
I have an older brother. It's just not. I'm just kidding.
Those to me
He's
were
not
like,
cool.
they were my older brother sister, so to say. So that's where I learned a lot. Like I got exposed to all that stuff, whether it was like current or even old, like Ramones. Like that's like I remember listening to Blitzkrieg Bop, being like, "Oh, this is so good," and then being shocked when I was like, "Oh, this is from like the '70s."
Yeah.
Because at that time it was cutting edge. You know, nobody had heard music like that before. It was its own thing. The Ramones were such a cultural movement. I mean, it was such a big deal for people who were interested in like punk rock, and you know, it was really some of the biggest starts other than, you know, like the Clash and older bands like that. It was a big deal. And like I remember Corey and I went to go see Tiger Army years ago, and one of the bands that opened for them, Creeper, yes, thank you, I was blanking.
I don't know how I remembered that.
I don't know either. But they had such a unique sound themselves. But what a contrast it is, because Corey actually went and bought their record after that, and they didn't sound as good on the record.
I don't think I bought that. I just listened to it online.
Listened to it. Excuse me.
I didn't like them. I liked them live. Thought they were fantastic live.
Fantastic
and then
live.
then you bought the record, and it kind of fell flat. It was like, this isn't that good.
Yeah, some bands, it's like you have to see them live. Yeah. I feel like,
That's where I feel personally where I do best is when I'm on stage. It's like, prove it to me. Prove it to the audience that you're as good in the studio as you are out there.
And that's how I found some of my favorite bands. Like, you went to go see a band, and like another band would open up for them, and you're like, wow, those guys, never heard of them before. They're fantastic.
Right.
That's how I found The Contortionist. I went to go see Between the Buried and Me, and they opened, and I was like, whoa, I was just blown away. They're amazing. And now they're my favorite band. So I'm going to bring them up every single time we podcast together till everybody listens to them.
Do you guys think... I mean, this is kind of an odd question, and it may even sound stupid, but do you guys think that the venues have a lot of influence on how these bands play, or do you think at that point in bands' careers it kind of becomes numb? They're going into a venue and playing.
I don't know if it's the venue itself, but it's the people. Because like bands come through Worcester all the time. They're always they rave about the shows that they play there because they're like, this crowd is so good. You know, like Silverstein comes through. They're from Canada and they play at the Palladium, and they're like, we love this place because of you, because it's the same people that show up, and we just make the show great.
Right.
I'm including myself in that audience.
Because me and George went to see Bayside there. I think Say Anything was opening or something like that.
That must have been a great show.
And it was fantastic. But it's so funny you say that, Corey, because that's what Bayside made in like his little speech or whatever. He was talking about how they were young and when they started at the Palladium. And I'm thinking in my head at that time, like, we're all Palladium veterans at this point. Like, we've been coming into this venue since we were younger. I
mean, I'm sure to some degree that's just a spiel that they say every single time they get on stage just to make the crowd feel better about themselves. But at the same time, there's no doubt in my mind that the Palladium crowd is something special.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such... Oh, my God. Dude, okay. Pause. I'm going to cry.
Don't.
The first time I ever walked into the Palladium, okay? I'm like 17, and I'm with Corey, and I'm with Georgie, and we walk in.
What did we see?
I had not been in that sort of an environment at that point in time. Like, I had been going to shows, but nothing with that crowd. We walked in. Somebody was on fire. There was two chicks handcuffed to each other with cat uniforms. I was like, where are we?
Cameron was in the bathroom pooping on top of a toilet.
There's one bathroom there's a urinal in the corner. I'm like, how does somebody fit in here?
I don't remember that at all, but the stuff you said at the Palladium, I'm not surprised I forgot about it.
Yeah. It's just par for the course when you go there.
Even then, like, I liked
circus.
We saw
pretty much. That's what makes it great.
We saw Taking Back Sunday. They played there.
Okay.
And I wasn't a huge fan because I didn't know a lot of their music, but that's the whole point about going to shows like that if they're live. You go for the experience and to become a fan. I think that's much better. Like, a lot of these times, you just see people in the crowd doing this. And they don't enjoy the music. But
they're not in the moment.
Right, but what I learned from that one experience was, just going in and hanging out with everybody was you were there to pay attention to the show. And it was just a huge environment, controversy, really, because I had no idea what to expect walking in there. Completely different world.
I've thought of that too, because like my favorite venue is the Palladium.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just this grungy, dirty, place. Like, what makes it so special? But I think
it's absolutely disgusting. And that's what.
It's
like
I
think I just tripped on somebody's dirty underwear.
Going there over the years, you hear people. When I get excited if a band's playing in Worcester.
Yeah.
But I've been to Boston too. But a lot of people from Boston hate going to the Palladium.
Yeah.
And
they're from Boston.
They have to drive out all the way to Worcester for the show.
That's why I hate going to Boston.
Yeah.
I like the venues in Boston, but the driving all the way out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember
it always stood out to me that they have a big metal hardcore. Like, they're very big on those festivals over the years. So I think it was for some reason Massachusetts, it's a very big heavy music scene to it, especially Western Mass. So I think maybe that's why a lot of these bands that come to play, they love Worcester, because that's what the majority of people are listening to in that area.
Yeah.
So it draws a crowd.
Yeah. Anytime you go see a metal band, it sells out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The last time we were in Boston to see a show was Tiger Army at the Middle East.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
And we took the.
That's the first time I had been to the Middle East.
Me too. That was an interesting little room, wasn't it? I didn't expect to.
Was it upstairs or downstairs?
Downstairs.
I've never been downstairs.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was much bigger than the upstairs area. So. It was nice.
I could.
It was small. It was a short little stage. You could get right up next to it.
Oh
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
barrier or anything.
Yeah.
Sweating
Oh.
bullets. After the show, me and Corey, we went and saw. We went and met the bass player.
Yep.
And then we took a picture together, and you could just see me. My entire shirt is just
Yeah, he's soaked.
drenched, like I just jumped in a pool. I was like, "Ooh, this is gross." It's so gross. That's my technique though, is to do a show, sweat it all out, and then go get another shirt from the car, and then continue the evening.
Or you could buy merch from the
yeah.
band and get a new shirt.
Yeah, I suppose.
A clean one, fresh.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, man.
I've done that. I brought like a change of clothes because of that reason. Yeah.
You have to. You have to. Going up on stage and like having all the lights on you with the pressure of trying to do well and get every note right, especially if you're like singing, it's a lot going on. Like the anxiety just kicks up to 100. You're like, okay, I need another shirt. Yeah, it's especially for me. It's pretty bad. I went to a party once, and I'll never forget this. This kid had it down pat, guys. I swear. I don't know how he came up with this formula. It didn't really take a scientist, but the guy, he had it right. I went to this party. Corey was there.
I don't know. Which one was this?
We went to Greenfield to Johnny's party.
Oh, that one upstairs.
The one upstairs.
Disquiet played at.
George, you were there too. Where Disquiet played.
George was like, no, I wasn't.
We were all there, I believe.
It's
if I'm remembering
Disquiet played, and then like it was a dance party after.
Yeah, right.
That one.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I remember this one kid running around.
I mean, years ago, maybe. I would imagine.
It was a few years ago.
Okay.
But I'll never forget this. This one kid's out on the dance floor, and he is sweating profusely.
That's not a word.
Profusely?
It's all the same.
No, it's not.
Profusely.
This kid went behind the scenes, guys, and changed shirts 5 times.
He had a suitcase with him.
He brought
Were you
something
picking
with
on
him.
him?
That's a professional right there.
How do you know it was 5 times?
Because I watched him. I was like, okay, where is this kid going? Where's he going? It just caught my attention. Of course, I know everybody. I'm bebopping around, but the one
What
thing
if he was
I
going to the
noticed,
bathroom?
he didn't go to the bathroom. He went behind like this
But what
board.
if he did?
What if he did? I don't care.
Would you have followed him in the bathroom?
What do I got to lose?
A clean slate, because after you get like criminally marked, that's it.
There was too many people in there with no cameras. There's no way that building had cameras, please. But anyway, I would just see him go behind like the scenes and then come back out 2 seconds later with another shirt. I'm like, this guy is a professional. There's no way.
He probably needs to see a professional. He sweats that much.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. You got to be drowning your kidneys with like all kinds of drinks that night. Holy cow.
I wasn't
Water
saying
would be good.
it would be something you stake out the place. Like, this is where I'm going to leave these shirts.
Yeah.
Like, hide them.
You just have a little cubby.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that is funny.
Oh my word. Yeah, dude.
It was hot that night, though. It was so hot.
Steaming hot, bro. And especially if you were out on the dance floor, it was worse because there were so many people.
I think I remember, there was like, he had thrown this thing where people were playing music, but I think that was like I had gone to the beach or something. And I got sunburned, and I was so hot and like actually physically tired, so I left.
Yeah,
something happened.
Left
so I don't. Yeah, because something was going on earlier that day.
That was the
where because I remember I feel like I remember Disquiet playing, but maybe
there was like one other band that played before them too.
Yeah, they were from New
They were
York.
out
I
from
don't
New
remember
York,
their
yeah.
name.
They mostly just played covers, from what I remember.
They had all like, I mean, you could tell that an amateur wants to buy every single piece of equipment and just run up there and use it all. Your son is such a cheesebag. Yeah, like an amateur wants to run up there with all his new equipment and just use everything. Do you guys remember that one show at Dustin's house? I'm not gonna say who it was, but there was this one kid that he had a guitar stand, and every single song he was switching out guitars.
Yeah, I remember. That was at like their original space.
No, we were outside. It was at Dusty's house.
Oh yeah, same kid though.
Yes, same kid. Yeah.
Same kid. Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. I was like, man, I can't believe how often he's switching guitars, but it doesn't
He probably
sound-
had multiple tunings going on. It's just easier to switch an instrument than
right.
tuning.
It's like that's the easier way to do things, but it didn't seem to me, or maybe I just didn't catch it, how different he was trying to be within his songs, because they were having sound troubles or whatever it was. But yeah. So it's interesting to me how much, like, I look at Tom Morello and what he can do, like the sounds that he can make come out of his guitar is just unreal. And I think going back to what George was saying, there's some sort of simplicity involved in that. There really is. It's like, can you make something that's simple sound amazing? And that's the challenge.
Yeah, you watch a punk band and they play, 20 songs in a night, and they don't switch instruments at all. They don't move. They just go at it, and every song's a little different. But they're all punk songs, so they're all the same. But
whoa. Hold on. Are you sure about that?
I mean, you don't change anything else.
It's pretty well known. It's 3-chord progressions.
It's pretty. I meant no disrespect.
Yeah, no. If you wouldn't be listening to that kind of music if you wanted something more technical.
But it's like I saw Rancid. It was like the last show I saw before everything
I
shut
should have
down.
gone to that.
You should have. Everybody that I tried to get everybody to go. George was there.
Oh, that was
the outside at the Palladium. Right? Yeah, it was a great show. But they don't change. They don't change their instruments like at all. Tim Armstrong plays that
tune them.
Yeah, well, tuning isn't punk rock. Hitting all the notes correctly isn't punk rock.
You don't need to do that.
It's a mentality. It's it's not about being musical. Well, I mean it is, but my point is all of their songs are also radically different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They don't really blend together. Like, are they playing another song, or is this the end of the last song?
Do you guys enjoy when bands have like a concept album?
I love concept albums. Some of my favorite musicians, bands, are concept artists.
I am not a fan of concept stuff, and I think for me it's more like it's almost you get pigeonholed in a way.
Well, like Coheed and Cambria have pigeonholed themselves pretty hard. And they're like one of the first concept bands that I got into, but they're kind of stuck in their concept, unfortunately, at this point. But they've done it well for the last 20 years.
I've tried to be a pigeon before. I just ended up taking dumps on too many people's cars.
I've never been a Coheed. I never got into them, but I think the same thing. It's just like, ironically, I've never been into like concept stuff, but one of my favorite bands is like New England, the Theater. It not only is it like an album, but the whole band is a concept band in a way. All their albums are tied to this one story, so each release is part of a story or something.
What was that other band called?
You guys keep talking. I gotta.
It was an acronym. It was 10 or something like that. What was it? They were a concept band. I cannot remember. They were huge a few years ago. It was an acronym. Now, this is really riveting storytelling.
Oh, is the early November?
Yes, the early November. All their stuff was concept stuff, right?
They had this one. Yeah, they had one album, or it was like a release that was like 3 albums.
Right. Yeah, they did a massive concept.
I think. Okay. Yeah.
Like I just remember hearing about them, and it was some crazy concept. But
it was like a 3-album release.
Yeah. I love concept stuff, and I don't actively search for concept bands. It's just like I find an album, I love it, and I find out it's a concept album. Like everything I love just turns into being a concept album. Yeah. I don't know how it happens, but it happens a lot more often than I'd like, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it ties back to the like more the lyrics.
Yeah.
because like I feel like it's not like something I would connect to when they're talking about a story in a way.
I really love it when they can connect the music too. It's like you're listening to a song and at the beginning they have like a riff or some kind of melody happening. And then later in the album, that same riff or melody comes back and you're like, oh, I remember that from this song. And they tie concept in musically. And it's like Coheed does that. The Contortionist does that. Like a lot of bands that do concept work do that kind of stuff. And that's what I really like, when they can tie everything together.
You know who does that too is like, not to deter from the music conversation, but Martin Scorsese does that with all his films. Like in Goodfellas, it talks about the mob in in New York in like the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, and then in the next film, Casino, it goes into like the money that they got from the Teamsters and then the mob in Las Vegas. It's like all the stories kind of tie together and they're one right after the other in like a timeline. That's stuff's interesting.
That's like Star Wars. I hate to bring up Star Wars again because we could talk about that for hours.
Corey, it's okay, brother.
But it's
I love it as much as you.
It's like what I was saying that last time when we were talking, like, what George Lucas said. It's poetry and it all ties together and it rhymes. But it's like in every movie and every trilogy, something happens where it's so similar that it just ties the concept together from 30 years ago to what's happening now, even if what's happening now is garbage. But we're not going to get into that.
By the way,
but back to music now.
Well, my last comment about Star Wars, did you get my video that I sent you?
I didn't watch it, but yes, I did.
You need to watch it.
I probably already agree with it, so.
Probably. Check this out.
Oh yeah,
look at this.
That Burlington Brewing from Vermont.
Corey taught me how to do all this stuff. This is good.
I missed it. Was it a pour or
any of it?
I taught him how to open a can. It wasn't anything special.
Like when Patrick,
you stick your finger in there.
When Patrick opens the jar in SpongeBob, it's kind of that same thing. Put it on the lid. Dude, SpongeBob will never get old.
I'm too old for SpongeBob. It's not. Their first season was good, and after that, I didn't care.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're like a curmudgeon. You just sit there and things get worse and worse for you.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I think same thing, time and place. Like for me, I would say SpongeBob was the last great Nickelodeon show.
Oh, absolutely.
But because I grew up and didn't like anything else after it, so like I feel like the same thing with music. Like stuff I listen to now, like I like because it was time and place. But if I were to hear it for the first time as an adult, I might not like it. But
what are you doing?
So I've seen SpongeBob, but I don't know enough to know that.
Rude.
For your next joke.
I didn't even try anything yet. What's wrong? See what I got to put up with, George? See what I got to put up with? Somehow, I don't know how we survived.
Sorry, I just derailed whatever was happening. Sorry.
I don't know how we survived those years together, but I should have slapped you a long time ago.
Probably.
Not to deter from this conversation, but I went to Village yesterday.
Oh boy, oh god.
I went to Village yesterday, and do you ever go there sometimes and think this is not the same? Have you ever done that?
We actually got some of their food the other day, and I was like, it's not the same as it used to be, and I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either. But somebody over there needs to get it together.
Probably.
I think we should start working there.
No, absolutely not.
And get the food back to where...
It really changed.
Yeah, the business would fold.
Oh, my goodness. So... the last time George was on, I told a story about Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys, when you were younger, what did you do to torture people? Did you throw rocks at them? Did you set bombs? Or what did you do to torture people?
I was a normal child that didn't hurt people. I don't know.
Didn't. You of all people, you had to have done something. Did you dig a hole for somebody to step in? Talk to me.
Got nothing.
Yeah, I didn't torture people either.
I tortured many people.
You're torturing us right now with this conversation.
There was a guy that used to mow the lawn next to the hall. And my best friend and I would stand there and we would just throw rocks at him while he was mowing the lawn.
Wow, you're a terrible person.
Just throw little rocks. And I remember he stopped once. He goes, "Stop throwing rocks." And then the next thing you know, he keeps mowing the lawn. We just pick up a handful and we start throwing them again.
Wow, you're a terrible
We were terrible people. So it's like
awful.
It's just funny.
Terrible stunt man.
How much I torture people.
What?
And then went into a punk band. It was like what irony that actually is. That's crazy.
I did not do any of that. I remember throwing snowballs at cars, hiding, but
I didn't even do that.
That was like one time. I don't really torture or bother people growing up.
What do you
So
guys
I've got
think
no
of?
stories.
What do you guys think of the podcast? Like, as far as, I started doing this show. It was a year ago and some change. How do you feel about a lot of our friends now are starting podcasts too? Like, is it interesting to see their growth? Like, I know Cal's starting a podcast, obviously with brews. There's a few people over here that I know that have started a show. If you guys were to put together some sort of show yourself, what do you think people would be interested in? Like, what kind of flavors would you add to, say, my show, for instance?
Cricket soundtrack. I'm just telling Corey. Yeah, there you go. Corey, I mean, for me personally, I'm not really a big podcast guy, so I have no clue where I'd start. Like input for your show, that's another. I feel like now that you're premium, like it'd be interesting to have like a whole bunch of people, like 10 max, just see what happens, I guess.
It'd be really tough though to get people in order to talk.
Well, that's the thing. It's just chaos.
That's the thing. I don't want that.
You'd have to ask very specific questions to specific people, and you'd have to control the mute button. Like, okay, you talk now.
No, I think, I don't know if, see, this is the thing. I don't listen to podcasts, so that's a terrible idea. I just gave you.
I enjoy it because, it's creativity in a sense that I don't really need to perform. It's kind of like a shooting from the hip with instinct when it comes to trying to figure out what your show brings to the table. Like, there are different shows about movies. There are different shows about music. What's that one you sent me with Tommy Rogers? What's that one called?
Oh, it's the Punk Rock MBA podcast.
Like, he does a fantastic job, that guy.
Yeah.
I've listened to some of his shows besides that, and I feel like some people just really have a hold on their game and their craft.
Well, he's a brilliant guy, so
yeah,
he knows how to ask the right questions, and he's getting good interviewees.
Do you think that comes from experience in music or experience in podcasting?
Well, I mean, he's not a musician.
He's not. He never had a band.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because a lot of these comedians are closet podcasters. Like, they have taken over the podcasting game.
Yeah.
And, because you got Joe Rogan, you got Joey Diaz, Tony Hinchcliffe, all like the LA comics have podcasts. And they're successful. Like, there's Comedy Store podcast. It's like,
well, they're successful because they were huge before podcasting.
Right.
They didn't start podcasting from nothing, and we're just automatically huge.
Right.
You have to have a following before.
Yeah. So
and
I
then
think
people automatically want to hear your opinion on everything.
Right. So like that's why I like doing the show, because it's just another thing that I have under my belt. Like, I think about you guys and about us, obviously. We're all public speakers in a way when it comes to the music world because we have experience in that. I personally would like to get more of this podcasting game under my belt, so I have experience in that with public speaking. Like, that's a big part of it. Now, when you guys go up and play on stage, what do you think about that sort of public image of yourselves when you go up on stage? Are you a different person, or do you sort of go back to when you were a kid?
I don't think about
cricket
it.
track.
I know, right? I don't have that prepared. Sorry. No, I don't think about that. I'm worried about having fun. I don't care if I'm having fun. Everybody else, that energy is going to be out there for everybody else to feel. So I'm just worried about me having fun. I don't care about anybody else.
And everyone else.
It works though. It's like if you don't worry about what other people are thinking, you're just like, I'm going up here to have a good time,
Right.
and that will translate.
Right. Because
not that I get on stage often, but when I do, I don't worry about it.
Because George has asked me, on other podcasts, how much of my persona comes out on stage, and I've tried to improve on that over the years. Obviously not now, but it's just interesting to see the growth of like how comfortable I really am now as opposed to when I first tried to get on stage and I bombed horribly. It was horrible. And it's great for me to see you guys on stage because that amps me up to do a better job too.
Yo.
I see you guys play and I'm like, man, what a privilege it is to sort of be a part of that story and to be a part of your guys' continual growth and me who gets to see all of that come out because you guys are a little older than I am, and so you have
old.
You've had more stuff happen as far as like what punk really means to you or what this genre means.
Well, for me, for the last few times that I've been on stage, it's just been popping on with either you guys or Lost in Transit or whatever. And since I don't have a musical project of my own, it's more freeing for me. If it were my band and my songs, I'd probably be more self-conscious about it. But since it's just like, oh, I'm just filling in and playing a couple of your songs, I really don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just up there. I'm up there for fun, and that's it.
Yeah.
If it were my stuff, I'd probably be more nervous about it. But
what would you? I mean, because you were in a band once before, so what if you were to go and do a project? Would there be anything specific that you would want to write about?
I don't have anything right now. No.
No. Because I feel like a lot of people.
Too many other. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I feel like a lot of people write about their experiences more than anything. I mean, I'm guilty of that too. Like a lot of my music goes back to my experiences.
Those are the best songs to write. It's something that actually means something to you that you have a connection with. If you're just trying to write a song to write a song, then who cares? Nobody wants to listen to that. That'll show through.
Nobody wants to listen to your trash.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just putting these words together because they rhyme, not because they mean anything to me. Nobody will like that.
Well, I mean,
people want something that they can connect to, and if your experience is similar to theirs, they'll pick up on that and they'll like it.
But if that's the case, why is Weezer so popular? Because their songs back in the day, they had no substance. They just talked about random stuff.
They were nerds, and they talked about nerdy stuff. And guess who listens to their music? Nerds. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
It was relevant to a specific group, and it was accessible.
Don't be offended, George. Don't be offended, buddy.
I had the Blue album and the Green album, and after that, they sucked. But
I disagree, but we don't need to go into that.
Right? Yeah, but.
Dude, okay, here's what happens with podcast.
There's an audience for everyone. For every band, there's an audience.
I agree.
For everything.
I agree, absolutely. That's the great thing about punk, is that there's no one specific that's allowed in or out or, needs to have some sort of credentials or whatever. You just go in the show. Go and enjoy the show. George is going to the bathroom.
He's just like, I'm done with this conversation.
He left his beer and everything. This conversation's over. All right, Corey. Now it's just you and me.
Oh, boy. I think I'm going to leave, too. Okay, see you later.
Thank you for coming on the show, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
It takes a big man to sit there and talk.
To sit through this, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. But, no, I am excited to to see what my next project is. You know, as far as, you know, being a solo artist and stuff now, I have so many things I want to do, like especially with this documentary I got coming up. I want my music to sort of shine through more than other projects, because the documentary is really about a life story and stuff. But I mean, I hope that Cal can sort of do a documentary on how your process goes, because you've sort of shined through when it comes to your creativity, not only in music but also your woodworking craft, and like
Not a very exciting story.
well, what attracts you to like making guitars? Because as someone who was there and got to see it, you've come a long way, my friend.
I mean, that's what got me into it. Was like I wasn't playing music, I wasn't doing anything creative, and I'm a creative person. So I wasn't playing music, I wasn't building anything. I'd worked a job that was just, cleaning, and it's cleaning.
Right.
So you're not, when you're a creative person and you just kind of feel like you're doing absolutely nothing, you feel like you're wasting your life. And one day it kind of hit me. It's like, I love music and I like making things. I could make the things that make music.
Right.
It's like, it just made sense.
Now, when you do go to make a bass at some point, is it going to be more of like the shape, the type of wood that you use? What is it do you think that's going to make the most sense for you when it comes to that project?
I have a few ideas on it. It is a lot the shape. I'm not worried about the material. I have actually the material just laying around. I've been trying to draw one for a while, just design it and get it what I want.
Do you find there's like specific like bass companies, so to say? Like you always see like craft guitars. I don't know of one like just specifically like a bass. Not that I look it up, so there must be, but
there's a ton. There's so many. And the thing is, that's another hard thing for me. Is like I think the bass building community, they're doing something that I have nothing to add to. Like they're so obscure and they're just doing so many wild things. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like bass shapes are kind of like very out there.
They're wilder, yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of hate most of them, and I don't. They're just so much harder to build because of their size and stuff like that. You can't take your own guitar shapes and just turn it into a bass. It never really works. Like they're so much bigger, so it's just like you'd have to make your shape bigger, and then it just looks funny. I don't know.
Because when I've played
funny
beast, I played George's bass in the past, and I was like, this thing is tall, and I'm a midget.
Yeah.
Like this is sort of like.
And that's a pretty standard size. Yeah, that's a standard size instrument. So
I was gonna say like that's the other thing. Like for me, it's all about the way you look. It's like I like, for example, I'll see strats on some players, and they would just look amazing. Yeah. But then like I feel like when I hold one, it's so tiny to me. So I'm like, that's the hard thing about it. I'm like, how do you position this to look cool in a way?
Right.
It's like I feel like it's all based on like your body shape, your physical body shape, and how it translates to like the instrument.
I think we talked about this a little bit on Cal's podcast, but like every time I design a guitar, they end up being a very small body. And I don't know if I'm doing that. I think I'm doing it subconsciously because I'm a small person and it just looks normal on me.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then like we were talking about Dustin's, he's got that Gibson ES335.
Yeah.
And how he looks ridiculous with it because it makes him look smaller.
Sure. Okay.
But like I've tried to design bigger things, and it's like I just hate it because it's so big and weird, and but it's like it's not even nearly that size.
I feel like that shape specifically, the way where you hold it, how high up you hold it on your body, and different things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like for me, the Strat, going back to the Strat shape, to be very specific, there's a band, The Joy Formidable. It's a female fronted band, and she looks like amazing playing that, like just like a rock god, so to say.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't feel that way when I hold one.
Yeah.
I don't know how tall Billy Corgan is.
I don't think he's very big.
I
think
feel
he's a
like
pretty short dude.
he's somewhat maybe my size or a little taller than me, but I
Really?
think he can kind of pull it off.
I thought
I
he
feel
was
like
short.
he's 6 feet minimum. I don't think
Really?
he's short.
I thought he was like 5'5", but I don't know.
I don't think he's
Let's
short.
Google it.
But I feel like he pulls it off.
Yeah.
But it depends on like the position, how high up you have it on your body.
That's true.
Like that.
Is it
So I
weird
think
for
that's
you
why
guys
I
to
always
play low?
played. I think that's why I always played low because of that.
Well, you have long arms.
Right,
so
you're
it's
tall.
Like, that
Yeah,
makes sense for you, but I'm not very tall. So I always play like super high just because it's like, ooh, I can do this.
Definitely. Yeah.
I don't know. When I play bass, though, I do actually play it fairly low because I'm not getting all technical and weird. It depends on what I'm playing. If I'm playing like, the intro to Seinfeld, like
Yeah.
like you kind of want to be able to. But if you're just playing like punk songs, like I'm gonna hold it up here and play these 3 notes.
You know what I should do is I should shave this part of my head and just stand next to you with a George Costanza outfit on while you play.
Okay.
It'll go viral. So dumb.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Probably. Where's your cricket sound? Where's the cricket noise?
Billy Corgan is 6'3". I was too busy Googling Billy Corgan.
Yeah, man, tall people like.
I think
I feel like they have the hardest time on stage.
I think another one. I think like what like got me into getting a Strat was like when I got into music, I like Blink. So Tom DeLonge used to play those Strats, but he would have it like really low too. To me, that looked cool at that time.
Dude, he's so tall.
I feel like he's tall. Yeah, like
he's tall
another. It'd be different if he had it higher up.
Dude, it was crazy. Like,
like
when I met him and I gave him a hug, and I was like at his belly button. I'm like, this guy's a giant.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like when I see so I can kind of tell how tall people are when I look at a guitar because I'm like, if the Strat looks huge on that person, I'm like, okay, they're a small person. I'm like, but I feel like smaller or like short, like I don't even know. I've never thought it was detailed, but shorter people can make the Strat look amazing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I use that Jay Turner Strat that I had since I was like
look
12.
up the Joy Formidable and you'll see what I mean. Like she looks amazing playing it, just like the way she has it in proportion to her body.
That chick from
Weekend
Friends is pretty tall too.
What's that?
That chick from Weekend Friends is pretty tall too.
The bass player is.
Actually, they're all like they're 6 feet or 6 feet plus or something.
Which is so weird because I look at their videos and I'm like,
my
what
height.
the?
They're my height, yeah. I think they like say something like they're the tall band or something like that. Yeah.
They're so good. And I remember seeing them for the first time. Corey made the comment to me, like, there's nobody out there that's doing something like what they were doing anymore. And even though they were so talented, it's like punk was just becoming a dying thing. And it stinks because they really are talented.
It's more like the 90s grunge kind of alternative rock music that they play that I like. So instantly, like, I fell in love with their sound because of that.
I did too. I got all their stuff. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I wish that, like, especially lyrically and the way that her voice sounds. I can't remember her name, but she's the singer. She's fantastic because a lot of times, you don't really know the struggle that the singer's going through because they have one sort of like range. But sometimes you hear like sadness in the voice or, excitement or whatever. In her songs, you can hear like the emotions, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that sounds weird or not. Yeah. But like Kurt Cobain had that sort of thing. You could tell like there was a struggle for those songs to come out. Which is I wish that I could do that for my music. Like,
I think it goes back to like staying true to yourself. Like if you're what you're writing, what you're doing, like it'll come out naturally. But if you're trying to fake it or
Right,
make
you're
something
forcing
up,
it,
that you have no idea about, then it's not going to be there.
George, are you excited to get back and start playing again when this thing's over?
Yeah. I had last year, I was fine not playing, but I think it took me, I found myself like going back to like really heavy music. So I'd be blasting in my car. And then like, I think I was realizing that like I missed playing live because, that the whole experience. So I was like kind of playing a lot of like throwback stuff I used to listen to that were heavy.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, oh yeah, I miss it. The whole experience, just hanging out with friends and playing live and just being loud again.
Yeah.
There's a story that you've told me, that I find so interesting. It's about when, like you started when you joined Lost in Transit, which was the Great Decay at that point, and you didn't think that you were going to play music again. Like, talk
Okay,
about
yeah.
that. Like, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, Corey, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. This is kind of incredible. But it got my attention because of what, you're feeling, as opposed to something gets reignited. And I hope that I'm phrasing that correctly for this story. But go ahead, George.
You want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Dustin gave me like a briefcase of money to play for them. So I'm like, oh yeah. Going back, like we would hang out and play, but I'm like, it got to the point where I'm like, I don't know if it's just me personally with commitment. Like I don't commit to things, so I'm like, yeah. I don't have a feeling of being in a band, so to say. Like it's fun playing around, but I'm like, I don't see myself playing in a band. So around that time, Dustin had asked me like, hey, you have a bass, right? Like you want to play with us? And I'm like, I have one. I just don't want to play with you. It's like, I play with guys, like, but I'm not really like looking to be in a band. So I think he kind of he was pulling teeth to try to get me to come down. So he's just come down and hang out with us or something. So I did. And I remember going to their space and watching them, but I don't remember how I got roped into it. I probably got invited again and like played with them a little bit because they were doing covers.
Right.
And then they had their original stuff that eventually I learned what they were doing and then made up my own stuff. But yeah, for a long time, like I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna last. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
I'm sure that's what Corey thought when he met me.
Yeah,
and I was right.
It's not like I went into it, like wanting to play like in a band, so to say. But I don't know what it was. Just hang out with guys. Like up until that point, I hadn't seen Dustin, and we grew up together, but
right.
He had moved, different things like that. So we weren't even like hanging out regularly at all. But I don't know. So it's just like, it's funny because like I played with them and just never stopped, so to say.
Yeah, I mean it's been fortunate for me, to sort of personally, and I think maybe Corey too, to have that sort of like, because when we were all playing together and doing shows together, like that was such a fun time. It seemed like every other show we'd be opening up for each other.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like it was just a really great time. And Corey would bring his stuff to the shows and stuff like that. Like, did you ever get offers at the shows, Corey? Like when you brought your stuff, were you just trying to showcase it, or like?
Yeah, I was just trying to get the word out. Nobody ever. Actually, technically, I brought a guitar it was the Hoodstock show, and Cal saw it, and he's like, I want that.
Right.
And that's how I sold Cal that guitar. So technically, yeah, that actually did happen once.
Yeah.
And you know
Do
what? It was a perfect fit in my mind for him to be in that band. I think he's doing great things.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Like his
I
performance on stage is incredible.
yeah,
He's okay, I guess.
I over the years I've seen Disquiet play, and like there's been like a revolving cast, but yeah, I like their fit. I didn't really. It was very sporadic when I would see them, but Cal is definitely I think probably the longest tenured guitarist. Maybe I have no idea about their history, but he's the one I've seen the most now at this point because we
Yeah.
played with them.
I wasn't around before then.
So I'll go on a Disquiet story. They were playing out in the Hard Rock Cafe in Boston, and so we went to see them one night, and I don't know what it was, but they were playing opening for this other band who was also a Slash Rage Against the Machine tribute band. So I'm like, there's a bunch of like middle-aged people at the show, and it was like the craziest thing I ever seen. Once the tribute band they started playing Rage, like it was like a bunch of like middle-aged people just headbanging and going nuts. And it was amazing. They were awesome, but yeah.
That's like seeing Taking Back Sunday right now. A bunch of middle-aged people.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean like usually like at the time it was like watching your parents just start moshing and headbanging and you're like, well, what is this? It was awesome. So
That's
like
crazy.
Disquiet played last. So unfortunately we had to catch the train home. It was like the last train. So we saw like a song or two and had to leave. But that was like an experience that I like just seeing that tribute band playing and seeing like all the people in the crowd go nuts. It was insane.
What are your guys' favorite memories from either shows or like being or playing on stage? You know, because Corey, you were in a band a long time ago before SOTA. So like, how did you guys play?
We never really played shows.
Oh, you didn't have any show. Oh, okay.
We never really got out much.
Gotcha.
We played like graduation parties, and that was it. Like 3 of them.
So
I played your graduation party.
I was just about to
that
tell.
was my first experience playing live because I didn't grow up doing that.
Did you know that, Corey?
Yeah, I was supposed to go, but I had to go to a family thing.
Yeah, well, families for losers. I'm kidding, of course. I hate you so much. Yeah, that's crazy, man. I didn't realize that. So you played a lot of shows with us, then, obviously. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I hope to have many more. I think some of my favorite moments are being on stage acoustically, to be honest. You know, because I learned so much just being out there in the open by myself. Like about stage presence, you know, about what works with different audiences, as we talked about previously. But yeah, I hope I get to do that again.
Yeah, the thing about the acoustic is you can't hide yourself.
No.
Yeah, it's very bare and raw. So it's like, if it's not good, I think people are going to realize it quickly.
And there's so many people that just kill on stage by themselves. Yeah. Like, I've been to acoustic shows, and the guy's doing fantastic movements. And
it's not as forgiving as throwing distortion pedals on. It's very intense.
Right.
It's very strict. So it's like literally you'll pick it up real quick if the person's good or not. Like everyone I'm sure has had experience where you've gone to a place and you're like, oh man, this is murder. I feel bad for them.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a couple of times when we went to the Starlight and we saw this band called SOTA, and I was like, oh my god, this is the worst.
Oh, those guys are trash.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, you won't have to worry about that anymore. Oh man. Well, hey, listen, we're gonna wrap this thing up. I just wanted to say thank you to my 2 brothers. Of course, you know, having you on the show is amazing. I appreciate you both doing the show, and and chit-chatting with me, and I can't wait till this thing's over and we can party again and go to shows and good things with the guitar company, Corey. I hope that you get some orders in and stuff like that. And Georgie, I hope that the band gets together again soon. Really.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
No, of course. Yeah.
Thanks.
You, Corey.
You're welcome.
All right, go check out their pages. Go check out CRC Guitars. Also, go check out Gold Suds, which is on Instagram. You can see all kinds of different beers that Mr. Cotties puts out there, because there's so many different breweries out there. We're going to continue to try and find more and more. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. We're clear.